Hi guys, so I've said in the past how Brexit has actually sped up the possibility of a united Ireland, and in a sense it's actually becoming more and more inevitable. Now, this was a debate that took place, I'm going to show you part of this debate that took place on Irish television about a united Ireland, where we had Mary Lou MacDonald from Sinn Fane, we had Leo Varadkar from Fine Gael, who was the former Taoiseach, and we also had Gregory Campbell, who's a member of the DUP in Northern Ireland. So let's hear what they had to say.
Well, look, we need everyone on board for this. That's the fact of the matter. But as for Sinn Fane, and this isn't a Sinn Fane project, this is a national effort. This has to be a genuine national effort. But just remember this, Sinn Fane is organised nationally. Almost 750,000 people vote for Sinn Fane nationally, island-wide. There are many, many others who don't vote for us, but who would share our analysis in terms of the desirability of Irish unity as the best plan for all of us on the island. We're in the executive and we're in government with unionism now for many, many years. So whilst we have very different approaches and very different stances on issues, we know each other, we work together. So we do actually, there isn't this situation where Sinn Féin people live, in one reality in the north and unionists live in another. That's not in real time how this works.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, and it's something very important to reinforce, that yes, these two sides are deeply divided, but when it comes to issues such as, cleaning the parks or increasing the cost of parking or making sure that the potholes are filled, there is, in a sense, unity. Both sides come together and they agree, okay, we need to fix the roads or we need to clean the parks. But when it comes down to much deeper politics, there is a clear divide, of course, and we have to remember that. But on practical issues, the DUP and Sinn Féin will sit down together and they will work out something that is to their mutual benefit, or to the benefit, I hope, of the people who actually need to use public services, for example.
And of course, unionism.
But counting Catholics and Protestants in a constituency or an electorate area doesn't help.
The census data will, of course, record religious denomination. But I agree with you. I mean, the issue is, and it's a mistake, by the way, to necessarily conflate your religious position with your political views. I absolutely accept that.
But the point is not so much whether there's a majority of Catholics. There's a majority in support of a united Ireland, or a majority in support of a border poll.
But the facts are that we are now in a period of very great change. There will be a referendum, and I would like us to agree that we need to begin the preparation now. And yes, the conversations and the dialogue, all of that needs to continue, but we actually need to get down to brass tacks. And when we talk about bringing people along, yes, the issue of those with the British identity is important. By the way, we're not starting from ground zero on that issue. The Good Friday Agreement hammers down a lot of those identity issues in a way that I think is really helpful. But we have to bring along everybody. So that means, as I have said, generationally we need to bring people. And we need to allow this opportunity for people to see what is possible. Well, that's the great value of this debate.
The DUP.
Okay, before we get to the DUP, I think that's a valid point, what she's saying. We need to bring everyone along. We need to bring unionists along. We need to bring people who are also not unionists and but not even Republicans. People who are in the middle, they need to be brought along as well. And there has to be some pragmatism as well. There has to be an understanding that this is in the best interest of the people of Ireland, North and South. I'm not the biggest advocate for a united Ireland, but I believe that the current situation is not sustainable. Brexit has created huge problems in Northern Ireland, and the united Ireland would solve a lot of those problems. And as we're seeing, even the demographic changes, through the demographic changes, it's going to become an inevitability.
MP Gregory Campbell has been listening to all of this and can join us now. You're very welcome. Thank you for being with us, Gregory Campbell. Could you stay living in a united Ireland should that come to pass?
Well, I don't think it will.
I don't think it will. But he doesn't actually say why. Well, not really.
If it did, I would find myself in perpetual opposition. But
so I would be. So if he was, if he lived in a united Ireland, he would be in opposition to it. So he'd be in opposition to reality. And I'm not trying to be glib here or anything, but you have to understand that unionism would no longer exist. It's not a case of what the situation is now, where there is the possibility of change. Northern Ireland would no longer exist. It's like East Prussia. East Prussia doesn't exist anymore. There's still people who live there, even descendants of the people when it was a country, but Northern Ireland would no longer exist. Northern Ireland would be incorporated into the rest of the Republic of Ireland. What would you be a unionist for? You'd be a unionist for something that no longer exists, which doesn't make any sense. I'm not talking about his identity. If he wants to believe that he's British, if he wants to wave a flag, if he wants to say that, I am a British citizen or subject, that's fine. But Northern Ireland would no longer exist. That would be a reality.
It's not going to happen, so I don't think we need to spend too much time considering that.
We don't need to spend time considering reality. It's inevitable. It's not just that it's highly possible, it's going to happen. You can't get away from it. It's like Scottish independence. You can throw some obstacles in front of it, but it will eventually arrive.
You've been listening to the conversation, though, tonight, and you have heard that there is broad agreement here that we are moving to a place when this border poll will happen.
You have to understand that Gregory Campbell cannot admit to the possibility of United Ireland, because his entire career would be over. What his entire career depends on him selling people the idea that they can avoid reality. If he accepts that reality is what we have, then he can't sell it anymore. He can't sell the idea that there is no reality. I'm selling you something outside reality. As soon as he admits that that doesn't exist, or it's possible that it doesn't exist, then his entire career comes to an end. He is a politician. He's selling people the idea that they need to vote for him in order to maintain the union. The union is going to cease to exist. What is he going to do? What can he sell the public?
Yes, and I just wondered when Mary Lou McDonald talked about a parallel universe, and I felt that we were all living in one there. Someone over the weekend sent me a video clip of Gerry Adams recently, who seemed to be now reduced to putting out Sinn Fane Easter eggs as a way to bring about a united Ireland.
This is typical of the DUP. You can't have an adult conversation. They will always resort to some sort of petty insults.
And I thought perhaps just he had lost the plot, but it sounds like it's more than him has lost it. This isn't going to happen. What we have in Northern Ireland now, and the census will bear this out, we don't have any community comprising a majority. There will be 3 minorities.
What he's going to do now is he's going to conflate the idea of community with religion.
There will be a unionist minority, a nationalist minority, and another third minority of people who aren't.
Because, see, what he's trying to do is he's saying there's a nationalist minority, a unionist minority, and some other minority. But there isn't a nationalist minority, and he's talking about a Catholic minority, a Protestant minority, and a non-religious or other minority, which is correct, but it's not a political minority.
Aren't comfortable identifying as either. They either want both or neither, or...
The reason I'm saying this is because you don't write your political leaning on the census. He's talking about the census. The census is talking about, the census is based on the issue of religion. That's what the census data covers. It doesn't cover whether you're a Republican or a Unionist. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to conflate the idea that someone who's Catholic is a Republican or a nationalist, while somebody who's Protestant is a Unionist. And generally that's the case, but you can't use census data to identify someone's political beliefs.
Or they're just another. So they will be three minorities, and all of us will have to agree on how to govern Northern Ireland. So to try and take that into this parallel universe about a discussion regarding something that isn't going to come about, because unions will, I mean, it's like the Henry Ford question. What type of car do you want? But what colour would you like it? But it has to be black. What kind of United Ireland would you like? But it has to be an Ireland that is united.
It doesn't have to be united. That's the way it's going.
Isn't going to happen, and we're not going to agree to it.
Okay, but what about an Ireland, Gregory Campbell, that is a new country, a new state, a country that recognises your place, your right to be British, that moves on from partition?
Right. Well, let me put it to you like this. On the island of Ireland, we have people who want to be and prefer to be and identify as British. There are those who want to be and identify as Irish. In the two existing nation states at the moment, where are those two and a third group who may not be comfortable identifying as either? In which jurisdiction are those three identifications more clearly outlined and more comfortable with each other at the moment? And the answer is within Northern Ireland. People can be Irish, they can be British, or they can be neither. But you can't say that of the Irish Republic.
You can't? Does he honestly believe that there are Italians who are living in the Irish Republic who don't identify as Italian? There are Brazilians who live in the Irish Republic and don't identify as Brazilians. He's just narrowing it down to British or Irish. But there are other nationalities. There are other identities. He's trying to say that there are only two possible identities, British and Irish. And in a united Ireland, then he can't be British anymore. It's like saying someone who lives in a Brazilian living in Ireland is no longer Brazilian.
Or any renewed definition of a new republic. So, people would be better working within the concept of what we have at the moment and building agreement on that, rather than going off into cloud cuckoo land and trying to devise mechanisms that they know we won't agree with.
Okay, Leo Varadkar,
I'm going to cut the video off here. I leave a link in the description to the whole one. I do recommend checking it out. There is a person who's living in cloud cuckoo land, and it's Gregory Campbell. Gregory Campbell is attempting to hold on to something that is fading away. Now, of course, there are two reasons he doesn't want to let it fade away. One is because he's attached to it, but the other is because it's his career. If if Northern Ireland ceases to exist, so does unionism. Now, Gregory Campbell could become a politician in the Irish Parliament, the Dáil. I don't know what party he would represent, but he could represent his constituents there. People could vote for him, and he could represent something there. But it wouldn't be unionism. It would be something else. He could be making sure that the people of his constituency get their services. He could make sure that the roads are repaired. He could do all types of things. But not unionism, because unionism would be over. I know this is difficult for people to accept, but unionism would be over. I'm not saying that Britishness would be over. He could still have his flag. He could still march up and down on the 12th of July. No one's going to take that away from him. It might even be encouraged. But he will not be a unionist, because there will be no more union. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?